Welcome to the Parts and Labor Podcast, the podcast that explores the strategies, systems, and stories that drive salon success. I'm Alicia, founder and CEO of Salon Scale.
And I'm Whitney, head of sales here at Salon Scale.
And welcome to the Parts and Labor Podcast. I'm just like lounging. I feel like I need new socks because
that's why I hide my feet every single time.
I know, I'm like hiding at this time. Anyways, welcome back to the Parts and Labor Podcast. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Whitney.
And so for today's episode, we're going to get into really the maybe more undesirable, ugly side of salon ownership. So dealing with things like burnout and really facing some of those challenges that you might have as a salon owner is our topic of choice today. And maybe I'll kind of share some of my experiences with you today as well, which, can maybe help for those that are facing some of these issues.
Yeah, I would say you'd probably be a pretty big expert on burnout. I mean, not only did you juggle a commission salon, but you did it while starting Salon Scale too. So I know that you're probably a pretty good resource on this topic and can stand to help a lot of salon owners. And also, I just want to say thank you for wearing business casual, knowing that I'm here in jeans.
You're so welcome. You're welcome. I mean, you have to dress the part.
Then what am I?
Didn't get the memo, maybe.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. I thought this was casual. Okay.
You always look great. You could have a paper bag and you look amazing.
Oh, thank you. My husband disagrees, but we'll carry on. He calls me Night Whitney, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Well, okay, so let's get into you. So we know now you opened Capelli. You had big dreams kind of when you started. And I think you've talked previously, like everything those first couple years, you're on a high, right? Like you've opened your dream salon. You've got this big vision. You've just hired these stylists. They're on board with you. And things go well until they don't. And maybe start there, kind of what that initial stages of burnout and that anxiety look like for you.
Yeah. So I think the first thing is, I'll get into my story, but I think the first thing is to understand and identify, am I in burnout? So you have to ask yourself, as an entrepreneur, as a salon owner, am I having a hard time like sleeping? Am I staying up all night? Do I have higher amounts of, anxiety? Am I not focusing on my own personal health? Am I not as active? Am I not as present? If your mind is constantly spinning and going, you could be in active stages of burnout. And so as an entrepreneur and as someone that has this dream, you're likely trying to push it to its limit, thinking like, oh, if I just get this done, then like I'll have a couple days and then I'll do that. But essentially, like that's going to wear on your body and it's going to wear on your mind. And essentially your business is going to feel it. So the one thing I say all the time is that like if you are stressed, your business will be stressed. If you're anxious, your business will be anxious. If you are happy, your business will be happy. So it's like you're very much like the mood meter in your salon and in your business because, these businesses are very personally connected. They're usually, smaller teams. So it's very family orientated that you kind of have that. So like people will feel that's going on. So, it's important to make sure you put some time into yourself and really ask yourself those questions before you keep trying to push it. Maybe you just need to breathe. And that's the number one thing is like, if you're feeling any of those symptoms, maybe you just need to stop and you need to just reset and you need to just breathe. You need to find the way to kind of get yourself centered to make some better decisions. You're never going to make good decisions when you're in burnout. And you're ultimately going to set yourself up for a lot more time off if you don't address that right away.
And I'll say this too, because I don't know that this is common knowledge. I certainly didn't know it. Burnout's a medical diagnosis. Like you can go to a doctor and get diagnosed with burnout, and that's how severe it can be. Is there like a meter, like can you have it mildly and then just continue to go out your day, or at the first signs of burnout, would they suggest that you just stop and reset and breathe?
Yeah, I think like it will be diagnosed. So if you do have, a family physician or someone that you're seeing that can kind of keep an eye on your mental health, it's probably unlikely. It's probably unlikely that you're going to therapists. It's probably unlikely you're putting any time into yourself. So no one has documentation of like your mood level and what's going on. And then the second level is like you're putting on a face. So you're masking to the world like everything's fine, but then you go home and you isolate. So like you go home and whether you're isolating in bed, binge watching TV, binge eating, like you're probably getting yourself into a situation. Like that's likely what's going to happen. But when you're in severe burnout, you will notice it's affecting to a whole other level. Some of the decisions, the emotional instability that's going to happen, you become very, very hypersensitive to a lot of things. And a lot of it comes like you become very irritable. Like there's a lot of like irritation that comes, especially to your closest family members. So if you're snapping on your partner and your children, and you're not talking to your friends and you're just telling them, oh, I'll meet up with you next week. Like you're probably in a very, close call that you need to stop. Now, when you are in severe stage of burnout, like the only thing is like you need to rest, like you need to stop. You need to get your brain, because your brain is now going into like it's in fight or flight. So like it's going to not stop. So every time you try to relax, go to bed, your mind is going to spin on all the things. Like if I just do this, and there's just no rest period. So you got to really, get yourself back on track to be able to get there. And sometimes that's hard because you feel like the weight of the business. You feel like if you're not okay, the business is not going to be okay. Like I don't have any infrastructure. I don't have anyone else that can keep the business going. Like it's all on my back. Mm-hmm. So like you do have a lot of pressure. So like it's important to like reassess how that's being done and like have these scenarios where it's like if anything ever happened to me, like who would take over, who would be able to do this. And so if you start those kinds of things today, like in your salons, like who would handle payroll if you couldn't, who would handle this if you couldn't, and just try to make sure that you cover a lot of those bases, because like there is going to be a time likely that this will happen.
Question too on that. So, like you said, if you're not okay, the business is not going to be okay. But I'm assuming that there's some layer of you don't want to show weakness to your employees. Like that would probably cause panic if the leader is struggling or staying home or not as involved, whether they know you're burnt out or not. I don't know, I could see like a conflict over there of like wanting to be transparent and telling them this is what's going on, this is what I need from you guys, versus masking it. So what would be your advice there?
Like, don't fake it.
Yeah.
Like you have to have proper communication in your salons. Like I, unfortunately had to live through not taking that pathway. But sometimes honesty is the best way to kind of get through it. You don't have to give people your backstory, but you can say, I'm taking time to reset. Maybe, I'm taking off the next week. Maybe you're starting to kind of schedule some of that time. And so here's what I need from you. I need you to focus on this and this. So you don't have to like tell them the whole backstory of like, you're not sleeping, you're not, all those kinds of things, but just to be very clear that like, I need my time and I need to not be contacted in this time. So only in case of emergencies, give me some space. Mm-hmm. But the big thing to know is like salon owner is like a single sport. So when you signed up to be a salon owner, it's like a single sport, like a golfer. And so I explain it as a sense is like everything rides on you. And so it is very important that you don't rely on others finding those solutions for you when you're in it. Like nobody is going to save you. Nobody's coming. Nobody's going to get you out of those depths. No one's going to stop because they look at you like you're that professional and that like pro athlete. Mm-hmm. So they just don't even assume that you're even in those zones because you're so good at masking it. Like you're so good at hiding it. So essentially, no one's going to get you out of it but you. And the only way to get yourself out of it is to understand, your mind, your body. Make sure that you take some time to like kind of reset and refocus is crucial to be able to set yourself up for a win. And so I think this is like a good kind of segue into like some of my past experiences. So like I've experienced burnout several times. I probably had my worst case of burnout in the last like couple years, more so in more present time, like not necessarily as a salon owner, but with salon scale, as you can imagine, there's a lot kind of adding on that. But, when I look at me being a salon owner, my period of burnout came after that hype period. So like I opened up this salon, and it was the talk of the town. It was the salon to go to. The brand was really wrapped into my identity, like who I was. I was an award-winning stylist, and I was known for this in our province. And so like it really, had that kind of like slight identity, slight ego side to it. So it really made me feel really good. But the moment I started to explore more opportunities, this is like my like season of being a like serial entrepreneur, like starting all these other ventures, whether it was like my own education. I started like training other salons and stylists on like how to like do editorial styling and stuff like that. As well as I started to dip into online distribution. So I started a company where I sold like professional tools across the country from my house.
Right, because why just not one business?
No, you can't. And then, like I said, serial entrepreneur. Then I had a third business, and that third business was Salon Scale. So at one point, I had 2 babies under the age of 5, 3 companies, and I, again, just kept pushing and pushing and pushing. So as I started to invest more of my time in these other areas, it felt to me as if the team that I had, they felt like it was like, because we were a family, like it kind of felt like I wasn't paying attention to them. Like I found a new family. So like, as I started to build Salon Scale out and started to like move into this, I realized like, this is a global opportunity. Like the salon was like a provincial, like sized opportunity within my province. The tool company was like a Canadian expansion. It was like felt really good selling across the country. But Salon Scale was like a global opportunity, the most amount of impact. And when it tapped into my core belief of like really the impact I wanted to make. So I think like two parts to that was like, I'm balancing a team that I'm trying to not make them think I'm more excited about Salon Scale than I am about them in the business. Also, while trying to figure out how do I navigate these other businesses that I have going on and keeping those kind of going, it created a shift. It created a little bit of a shift in the business, and I had a senior stylist leave. And so not only did she leave, she opened up a salon like a block away. And when she opened the salon a block away, she ended up bringing 2 others with her. And that year we ended up losing like 350,000 in revenue. So like the very, hard 5 years of work that went into producing a team that could not only sustain the business, but finally start to produce, some dividends even for myself as the business owner after all that work was vanished overnight. Mm-hmm. So I now was left with this, like, do I continue to pursue this like global like idea and keep moving over there? Like, do I come back to the salon? Do I bring it back? Like I was spread so thin, and I had, again, 2 children that were needing me as well. And there was no room for me. There was no ounce of time that I put back into myself. And because of that, like I hit the burnout. I wanted to hide. I wanted to isolate. And I had a hard time walking even into the salon. Every time I'd walk into the salon, resentment would build, or, guilt, shame. Like I'd walk in and try to do my mask thing, but it was like getting to a point where I wanted to almost just avoid and become more of an avoidant in that time period.
Do you feel like they were treating you differently when you walked in? Or was this like in your mind?
When I look at it now, I think it's part A and B. A lot of it is in my mind. A lot of it was almost like I almost manifested it because I was almost assuming like that they were feeling that way and not having any conversations about how they were feeling about this. I was just assuming that it was like almost making that happen, making that kind of distance happen. And the more you avoid, of course, you're going to create like more like pushback or lack of trust, right? Because you're not having that conversation. And then I would say the other side too was the trust side. So like, I wasn't having as active, like, hitting the conversation right away to say, it's like, hey, this is what I'm planning on doing. Like, how do you guys feel about that? Like opening them up to the ideas of what I was doing versus like getting past that point. So I think like those 2 things were kind of a factor in that time period.
And how long did you own both companies? Like, did it so you sold Capelli to your senior stylist, we love,
Yes.
Nikki. But how long, bless you. How long did you own both, and did you end up selling the salon because both was too much, or why did that happen? Was it because of the burnout, or do you think you could have gone on like this forever?
No, I couldn't have gone on like that forever. I think the big thing is like when you have big dreams, like something has to give. Mm-hmm. You can't have it all. The saying, like, you can't have it all. Sometimes you have to let things go and give opportunities to others so that you can go after the things that like truly are like igniting your soul or your purpose. Like what am I trying to do? Mm-hmm. And I think like if you ask like 100% of salon owners, like, why did you start your business? It was the impact. It was the legacy. They probably would say the same things, as like to create that lasting impact. And so for me in that era, in that time, like that was my impact, was like making this salon, like in my mind frame, like, you know, at the end of the day, you know, I was 24 years old when I started the salon. Of course, like I was only thinking provincially, like I was only thinking in my province. You know, I wasn't expanding out to the Canadian, like a Canadian enterprise, or thinking of having multi locations. Like I was kind of just in that zone. But like as I started to explore my mind and like the things that like I could innovate or create or change, like I started getting, you know, into other business ventures that like pulled me into like larger scopes, which means that I have to let go of some things that were there. And so, like, when it came to the selling off of the businesses, the first easy win was to get rid of the distribution company. First of all, you know, sending as many combs and tools, I realized right away I did not want to be a distributor.
Why do you keep doing this? Why did you keep opening businesses? Was it money motivated? Was it just like something in your little entrepreneurial brain? Sorry, your brain's not little. Your entrepreneurial brain about you just want to start businesses? I don't have that brain, so explain it to me.
Well, I mean, I think as an entrepreneur, like, I mean, if you think about it, you just jump in. You're like, oh, this is a good idea. And you want to like just jump in on the idea. You don't think right away all the things that could go wrong. You think of all the things that could go right. Mm-hmm. And so especially when you're a baby entrepreneur, like you just want to start more and more and more and more. You're not really focusing on keeping it consistent, keeping it stable, growing it so it produces mass amounts of profit so you could sell it one day. Like you're not thinking that way. You're just thinking of like building up, like you're just jumping in. Mm-hmm. And so like that's kind of where I was in that kind of season. But that's generally what happens. And then like you get your oh shit moments like after a couple of years of running those businesses, because like the businesses start running you, like versus you running the business, and it's kind of past that point where it has to expand past you. And if you don't have a proper foundation, or you don't have a proper vision, or you don't have like a way of getting it to that point, like it's just going to wear on you. Like it's going to be very taxing on you to be able to do that. And so like for me, it was a very easy choice that like the first one I could get rid of was the distribution company. And this is my first like ability to start to look at like, how do you sell a company? What do you need to do? Like, so, you know, the first pathway down acquisition, and keep in mind, like I'm in a mental state that like I'm having to like sell off businesses all while I'm dealing with all this stuff. But like I put on the face, to make sure it would happen. But I kind of did some research. And
this is great.
Yeah,
please find it.
This is how you do it or not. I found a school in a city, like outside, like a city a couple hours away from ours. And the school, you know, I thought right away, oh, you know, this would work into their business model, because, you know, they have a bunch of students that would like require like kits or tools, and they might want like a luxury version. So like I had already made all the deals and negotiated them with major brands to have the licensing within the country for some of the tools. And so essentially I just called up the school and like pitched the deal. And they said, yeah, like we're very interested. Like, why don't you come down? And we'll have a face-to-face conversation. So I packed the vehicle up with all the inventory. I was that confident. This trip twice. I was that confident. I was like, I packed up all the inventory. So I think at that time I had like, you know, 30,000 worth of inventory. So
show up in a U-Haul.
Yeah, I was just like, it's here. So pull up with it. You know, did the presentation, had the conversation with them, and they were like, yeah, we'll take it. So when it came into selling it, the first sell on that was just like goodwill. What that means is like selling your business. You're selling it as face value. Like what is the assets in the business at that time? It was inventory. So there's, the inventory was valued at what? So like, yes, I might have had 30,000, but we did a slight reduction on it as a deal to take it all up front. And then the second asset in the business was the brand, the name, like website, logos, like any of that kind of stuff. So that would be the goodwill portion. So we put like a dollar figure to that, wrapped it up, had a sell, and they wrote me a check. So then I basically drove home with no more inventory, and I started sending them like access to like my, like I had like a I think I didn't use Shopify, but I used maybe another one. But anyways, sent them all the access to all that stuff and gave them the connections to all the partners, and was like, one thing's off the list. But boy, I tell you, like for mental health, it felt so relieving to like drive home and to know that I never have to worry about that again. That was like the first step that I was like, I need to do more of this. So then that's where I realized like I don't really, I can't be a serial entrepreneur. I can't hold on to all these things. Like I had to like, what do I really need? So I started to like really dive back into that.
And question, because obviously running a salon is a full-time job in itself, but you were also at that point creating Salon Scale, which is obviously you did something that people go to school for and still fail at. And you created a company on your own. Like, it's incredible what you were able to do. I mean, to just the skill set that you would have had to acquire. And I imagine that took the majority of your time, which means that your salon would have to be running pretty smoothly on its own. Is that right? Or were you still in there
smooth
doing
as it could?
But were you still in there? Like, did they still rely on you when you were doing both? Or had you set systems in place that allowed you to focus more on Salon Scale?
I definitely had the day-to-days kind of covered. I had a good salon manager at the time that handled, dealing with like getting things ready for payroll. And I had some senior staff that really handled, training new talent, or like making sure that the team was getting answered any questions they had. But you'd still get you're tied into the money. So there'd still be always can we buy this? This there's always those one-offs that you have. And then there's still this whole, that was my identity. So I didn't know if I was ready to release the Alicia the stylist, this, it's I worked really hard to make a brand for myself. And I was very talented as a stylist, when it came to editorial work and stuff. This is really a big part of my life. And so I don't know if I was ready to let go of that. So it was really hard to, now figure out what was going to happen. And if I went full time with Salon Scale and I lost that part of me, and I'm just a CEO, I'm just into the business side of things, am I going to be able to inspire and influence this team like I did with, my stylist? Because again, I could show them how to do haircuts. I could show them how to style hair. But in this world, I can't show someone how to code. It's I can't show someone how to understand these parts, these components that I was leaning into. So therefore, it's balancing those kind of things where it's am I ready to say goodbye to this portion of my life?
And I want to jump back to a sec too, because I know this episode, kind of the theme is burnout. What got you out of that?
Your business is never going to care about you as much as you care about the business. And so when we look at it like a breakup, you have to take some time. So the longer you're in business, or the longer you're in a relationship, and the deeper you are in love with that relationship or that business, that's how long it kind of takes. So some forms of burnout, you can get through it in a week off might help you reset, but sometimes it could take months. And so I think at the end of the day, it's an entrepreneur's injury to the brain, and you have to look at it like that. So if you were an athlete and you pulled your hamstring, and you have to be rested for 3 weeks or whatever to get through it, that's the reality. You've injured your brain, and so you must rest, and that's the most important thing you have to do.
That's super interesting. I like that line. An entrepreneur's injury to the brain. So rest got you through it. How did you set yourself up then to where that wouldn't happen again? What changes were a direct result of that to set yourself up to give yourself the best chance to avoid this in the future?
Well, as we know, it happened
And then
again.
it happened again. Worse.
I think it's very hard to like ever not go there again, especially when you are passionate, like you're driven, you want to make a lasting impact. Of course, you're gonna have this addiction. Entrepreneurship is the most widely accepted addiction, right? Like your family and your friends will be like, "Wow, you're doing so great. Keep going." Even you're in this active stage of burnout, and everyone's still cheering you to keep going. Whereas, like if you were in substance abuse, people would sit you down and be like, "We're worried about you." Right. Mm-hmm. So like, that's the reality. Like, that's like what you're kind of dealing with. And so like, I think you're probably, you could relapse. You could go through moments and seasons where you have that. So like the best advice I would have to any salon owner that's dealing with burnout would be to find a mindset coach and or a therapist to make sure that you have someone to unpack those moments where the mental state is not there and how to cope and move through there so that you can be properly guided when it's time to take maybe a little bit of a break, and someone that you're not showing your mask to, that like you are pulling exactly where you're at that time.
Okay, that's that's all super interesting, and I don't want to say it's great that you have such good firsthand knowledge. Like you've been burnt out so many times. Like how helpful, but it is the reality of entrepreneurship and pushing yourself. And just like you said, people are cheering you on, thinking she's working so hard, she's doing a great job, but you're crying yourself to sleep every night. And so it's pretty interesting. So I think that we've covered probably enough on the subject today, but I'm sure it will pop up again kind of in future subjects or future podcasts. It's just kind of ever present there within this industry and entrepreneurship as it is. So
absolutely. And again, for anyone listening, if you're feeling this way, you're doing that, just take some time to breathe. Take some time to reassess and get yourself out. And always, always, always remember why you started. That will definitely help you get yourself back on track, so you can enjoy what you did. You started when you started it.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. Well, thank you so much for watching today, and tune into our next episode. It kind of leans nicely into that, which is a bit about, kind of dealing with some pushback or some difficulties with stylists as well.
See you on the next one.